Welcome back. In our previous video, we built a group by query on the movies table by aggregating across the year attribute. We'll continue with more examples here, querying different tables on IMDb and building various group by queries. Let's try our first example. We want to compute the number of movies per director ID, ranking first the directors with the most movies. To keep things simple, we'll only be looking for director IDs and will not try for now to add the details for each director in the results. So, how can we compute the results for this query? First of all, the information that we need to answer this query is in the movies director table. Let's take a look. So, select star from movies directors. It contains the director ID and the movie ID. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to compute how many movies we have for each director ID. So let me first start by going and ordering by director ID. So I add an order by director ID. And now the rows of the results are ranked by director ID, and we can again visualize our groups. So what we have one movie for director ID 1, one movie for director ID 2, 2 movies for director ID 3, 1 movie for 4, 1 movie for 5, 1 movie for 6. Now we have a bigger group, the group for director ID 7. Let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 13 movies for director 7. We'll have quite a few more for director 8. We can scroll down. 1 movie for director 9, 1 movie for director 10, 1 for director 11, 2 full 12, and so on. Now, what we want to do is we want to count the number of entries for each director ID. Instead of doing just order by, we go and add group by director ID. And we go in the select part and we want to show the director ID. So select director ID. And we want to show how many rows we have for each director ID group. So select director ID, comma, count star as number of movies. Execute and you'll see that we get now our result. Director 1 has 1 movie, director 2 has 1, director 3 has 2, and so on. You'll see that director 7 has 13 movies, director 8 has 35, and so on. Now, what we want to do is we want to order the results and put the director ID with the most movies on top. So we modify now our order by. Instead of doing order by director ID, we change it to order by num underscore movies descending. This might seem a little bit foreign, but what we are doing is we use the alias num underscore movies that we defined as an alias for count star, and we use this alias to order the results according to a descending number of movies. So you'll see that they have the director 25116 with 619 movies, director 56530 with 562 movies, and so on. Let's try a similar query. We want to compute the number of movies per actor. So not per director, but per actor this time. So how can we do that? First of all, which table are we going to use? If you take a look at the diagram, you'll see that this information is stored in the roles table that contains the interactions between movies and actors. So let's take a look. Select star from roles. If you take a look at the table, we want to compute the number of movies per actor ID. So let's go and order by actor ID first. Order by actor ID. And you'll see that we have actor ID 2 that had 2 movies. Actor ID 3 had 1 movie. Actor ID 4 had 1 movie, and so on. So how can we count the number of movies per actor? Well, we are going to group by actor ID, and for each actor ID, we are going to count star and call this the number of movies. So we type select from roles, group by actor ID, and let's go up in the select, and we type select actor ID, comma, count star as number of movies. And you'll see now that we have in the results, actor ID 2 had 2 movies, actor ID 3 had 1, actor ID 4 1, and so on. And if we want to order by the number of movies and we put the actors with the most movies first, we do order by num movies descending, and you will see that we have the actor ID 45332 with 909 movies. Next, actor ID 621468 with 672 movies, and so on. So again, let's take a look at who are these actors. Select star from actors, where ID in 45332, 621468, 283127, and let's look them up in Wikipedia. So now let's examine a very related query. Instead of movies per actor, we want to compute the number of actors per movie. As we did before, we are going to go to the roles table. The difference now is instead of what we're doing in the prior query, where we're grouping by actor ID and counting the movie IDs to compute the number of movies, now we're going to reverse the process, and instead we're going to group by movie ID and count the actors instead to compute the number of actors for each movie. So we modify now our query. Again, we are on roles, but we do now select, let's do from roles, group by. We're going to group now by movie ID. And now let's go into the select part, and we add movie ID, count star as number of actors, and let's order by number of actors descending. And let's take a look. You'll see that we have the movies with the highest number of actors on top. We had this movie 20625 that had 1274 actors. Second movie had more than 1000 actors, 1083. Next, the movie that had 907 actors. Now, let's try the following query. We want to count the number of male actors and the number of female actors in the database. How can we answer that? Well, this information is in the actors table. So let's take a look. Select star from actors. You'll see that we have back the list of actors, first name, last name, but we also have the gender attribute. If you remember, we can do select count star from actors, and this query is giving us back the number of actors that exist in the database. What we want to do now is we still want to count, but we want to break down this count between males and females. So which attribute contains this information about male, females? Well, the attribute that we want is the gender attribute. And what we want to do is to count how many M values and how many F values we have. So our groups now are defined by the values on the gender attribute. Therefore, that will be our group by attribute. So we go and we add group by gender. And next we go to the select statement. We are going to show the gender. So select gender. And we want to count for each of the values of gender how many rows we have. So we add after gender, select gender, count star as number of actors. So we execute the query. You'll see that we get back that we have 304,000 female actresses and 513,000 male actors. So finally, let's see another query. We want to calculate the number of movies for each genre. How can we answer this query? Which table contains this information? Well, it is the movie genres table that contains information about genres. So let's take a look. Select star from movie genres. You'll see that we have the movie ID and the genre in the rows. What we want to do is we want to compute how many short movies we have in the database, how many documentaries, how many crimes, and so on. So our group by attribute now is going to be genre. So we type select genre, count star from movies genres, group by genre. This query is showing the genre, and the count is counting how many movies are associated with each genre. So let's add an alias as number of movies for the count. We execute this query, and you see we get back 14,000 action movies, 20,000 adult movies, 9,000 adventure movies, and so on. So we can see now in the results the different genres that we have in the database and how many movies are associated with each genres. This completes our examples for aggregate queries in the IMDb database. We focused mainly on writing queries that require us to figure out which tables to use in the database and figure out what attributes we need for grouping by and which attributes we don't use in the group by. We're going to have a few more examples next. We're going to focus on the Facebook database, and we're going to see how we can expand our group bys to use multiple attributes at the same time. So until then, play around and practice. See you next time.